we finally got our first still of Quaritch and Spider in Avatar Fire and Ash, but there's a few details about this image that I'd like to discuss. Avatar Theory here, hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day. And recently Empire magazine on their Path to Pandora series gave us our first look at Quaritch and Spider in the third Avatar movie, and it's crazy to think that this is our second still we've seen of the movie, given that the film is less than 6 months away. We haven't gotten any poster or any teaser, as all we've gotten is a couple of concept arts and, as mentioned, 2 stills from the movie. Now, as mentioned, looking at this image, there is quite a bit to uncover here. Now, of course, just looking at this image as a whole, it is very similar to the interrogation scene from Avatar: The Way of Water, where we see Quaritch talking to Spider at Bridgehead.
I thought you might want this. It's Colonel Miles Quaritch, deceased. Killed in action.
Now, I do wonder why Spider was captured yet again, and my guess is that this scene takes place probably about halfway through the movie, because you can see that Quaritch is mostly healed up from his battle at the end of The Way of Water. He doesn't really have any visible scars or marks. His knees just looks a little bit scuffed up, but otherwise he doesn't really have any visible marks, hence why I think this takes place much later in the movie. I've seen some theories and speculations of people talking about this being another recom Quaritch, like a copy, but I highly doubt that. I do think we're only going to see one Quaritch, one recom Quaritch, and it's going to be the same one throughout the entire Avatar saga. Now, you can see that he has a recom breather around his neck, because we know that recoms or Na'vi has to use these inside human facilities because they cannot breathe human air, as they need to use these every few minutes or so. Now, looking at his hoodie, which is really awesome in my opinion, the immediate thing that stands out is the skull in the center. This is, of course, the recom symbol or the recom patch, which we've seen before, and we've actually seen this hoodie in Avatar: The Way of Water. During the scene where Quaritch talks to the other recoms, we can see the exact hoodie on one of the recoms, except that it's sleeveless. It might be a little more brown and less green, but it has a similar design nonetheless. As for the facility itself, I couldn't really make out anything else in the background, as most of it is too blurry. I could only see a 3 with a green image and what looks to be NW. I'm not really sure what that is. And at the back there, you can also see some green squares, and again, the writing there is just too blurry to make out, regardless of how much I try to sharpen the image. So I don't really know if this takes place on Bridgehead, on a sea dragon, maybe even it takes place on the factory ship for all we know. Now, going on to the look of Spider, there is quite a few things to notice. Firstly, you can see that he is very sunburned. Looking at his forehead, it's very red. Well, it could either be sunburn or he could have hit his head quite badly. I'm not really sure, but it looks more like sunburn, giving me the indication that he was outside a lot. And you can also see there's a lot of Metkayina beads in his hair, and you may also notice the Metkayina tattoo on his left arm. This indicates to me that he has essentially become part of the Metkayina clan. But interestingly, about that tattoo on his arm, in a behind the scenes image not too long ago, we could actually see the same tattoo on his arm from a behind the scenes photo where he's looking inside some sort of chamber, which could likely house an avatar. But there was also another behind the scenes image where we could see James Cameron yet again with Spider that looks to be inside this chamber. So I don't really know what exactly is happening here. I have a couple of theories, and some of them I've spoken about in previous videos, which could potentially spoil certain aspects of Avatar Fire and Ash, so I'm not going to repeat that here in case you want to stay away from potential spoilers. But it is interesting that we've seen this photo or this tattoo from behind the scenes photos a couple of years back. Now, another thing to note from this image is that Spider has this scar across his chest, of course from the scar from the cut that Neytiri gave him at the end of The Way of Water, but it seems all healed up. This essentially confirms that the poster of Spider from Avatar The Way of Water is actually the Spider from Avatar Fire and Ash. We got this image when we got all the character posters from The Way of Water, and there was a few things off about Spider, particularly that he looks older, his hair looks different, he has more Metkayina gear on him, and of course he has the healed scar on his chest, which, as I just mentioned, looks exactly like the healed scar from this image right here, indicating that in fact we did get the poster for Spider from Fire and Ash for Avatar The Way of Water. I don't really know if that was intentional or a mistake. Regardless, that does confirm that the image here is Spider from the third Avatar movie and not Avatar The Way of Water. Now, going back to the image from Empire magazine and looking at that tattoo again, I'm not entirely sure what the tattoo represents. Maybe it's him becoming part of the Metkayina clan, essentially a rite of passage, he gets that tattoo, but it also looks like there's a part of it that might be smudged or blurred. I'm not really sure if it's blurred for spoiler reasons or if that's just how the tattoo is, but other than that, not much of Spider's outfit has changed from Avatar The Way of Water. Looking at this image again as a whole, it does seem like Spider is quite upset about something and Quaritch is kind of trying to convince him to, I don't know, join his side yet again. I hope that's not the case because it might feel like they're redoing Avatar The Way of Water again in the third Avatar movie, but I don't think that's the case. What I'm speculating the conversation here is about is probably Quaritch telling Spider, you know, you saved me at the end of The Way of Water, you saved me at the end from drowning, you know, so you must care about me, you must have some feelings towards your father, and Spider having that regret, saying, you know, I regret saving you, I should never have saved you, and Quaritch saying like, you know, you don't mean that, you know, that I care about you as my son. Maybe he's trying to connect with Spider or reconnect with Spider in that sense, probably trying to manipulate him in some way. But what I'm also thinking is, and this is going on my theory about what potentially happens to Spider in Avatar Fire and Ash, so potential spoilers for what I'm about to say is that this might be shortly after the scene where Kiri essentially saves Spider, because we know something is going to happen to Spider. His breathing mask breaks and he's essentially about to die, and Kiri does something to save him, making him somewhat half human, half Navi, making him able to breathe on Pandora. And this could be Quaritch saying to him, no, you're special, that you're unique, that you're better than anybody here on Bridgehead, that you're meant for something greater than what you think, you know, you're meant to kind of bring the Navi and the humans together, something to that extent. And Quaritch saying, you know, what happened to you is nothing but remarkable, it's an amazing thing that happened to you. And maybe Spider resenting that, saying, you know, I should have just died, I should have just let, you know, you should have just let me to die, something to that extent. I don't know, I'm just speculating and theorizing here, but I was surprised that we got this still. I didn't expect it, considering the cover image of Empire magazine this month is all about Tron Ares, so I was thinking that we probably get another concept art. Regardless, I was happy to see this, and like I said, there was a few things to take away from this still. But was there anything that I missed? And what do you think is happening in the scene? Let me know in the comments below, and for more Avatar content, have a look at the rest of my channel. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.